market has been booming, driving up billionaire wealth, even while the real economy faces deepest recession in a century. But it also says that in contrast, after the financial crisis in 2008, which took 5 years for billionaire wealth to return to its pre-crisis highs, the billionaires in the context of COVID have increased by a staggering 3.9 trillion between the 18th of March and the 31st of December 2020. And so it's within this context that Mr. Rupert's actions are a symptom of a much deeper crisis in the global response to the pandemic. That he's granted the right of access to the vaccine ahead of the Swiss and South African people, we certainly consider to be morally and politically reprehensible.
Yes. Now, obviously, this is a big concern where you're saying that Johann Rupert has been jumping the queue and looking at where we are in South Africa and also looking at the African continent, because this is another concern that has been raised where the billionaire class are given preference over countries. And you raise a point where most African countries have not yet received the vaccine, this in spite of South Africa being the site for clinical trials of major vaccines.
Yes, that is correct. And I think it, as a movement that's seeking to ensure South Africa's response to C19 crisis is rooted in social justice and democratic principles. We have to highlight and condemn these actions because, every person has a right to healthcare services, which includes access to vaccines. And this is not exclusive to billionaires or wealthy countries alone. And so I think that the question that comes up is, where does abuse of wealth and power, become a symptom of this deeper crisis? And what we're articulating as well is that, disadvantaged and exploited vulnerable people, especially poor working class Black women and children, are really, in incredibly vulnerable situations as a result of this pandemic. And the privatized international healthcare system, which is subject to profit, it leaves healthcare itself inaccessible to the majority of people and in this planet. So I think the privileging in providing vaccination to Mr. Rupert in this context is a catastrophic show of elitism. And I think, we note that it in a way, it also backpedals on efforts of local and international solidarity. It puts that at risk. But for us, it sets a dangerous precedent of acceptance of class, race, and gender preferentialism. And it also compounds the issue of vaccine nationalism, which the people in South Africa are making incredible efforts to try and correct.
Yes. Now, when we look at someone the stature of Johann Rupert and the position that he holds, not only in the country, but right across the entire world, and we know that this was a man, or this is a man who has had various honors that have been conferred upon him, whether it's been, honorary doctoral awards or the like. And we also know that obviously there is a close association with the South African government, and we've seen it early during the pandemic. And one of the first speeches that the president of the country spoke about the Rupert Fund and about monies being donated towards COVID relief and the like as well. And obviously you as an organization, as looking at this and viewing this in a very, very serious light, where you say that, he is not deserving of some of these awards as a result of some of the actions that he has displayed recently, particularly with regard to jumping the queue as far as vaccines are concerned.
Yes, I think it's very important for us to, as civil society and as citizens, to locate the fact that we have all made the most extraordinary sacrifices. We have both bought and agreed to the contract of restricting ourselves in terms of our movement, of living in conditions where certain democratic rights have been removed, and also, we are concerned about the fact that the right to protest has been banned. But notwithstanding those things, there's been massive suffering. businesses have shut down, family members have died. There's an unprecedented sense of tragedy that has beset this nation, but also a sense of conviction in that we are going to move through this virus and that, we will come out the other side. And based on that, it does not give any particular individual, irrespective of their wealth and irrespective of what they may have contributed to before, the right to take advantage of access and privilege in this way. Because if we do not call this kind of action out, you can imagine in a place like Switzerland, where policies are strict and adhered to, and it's also, by the way, a country with described as one of the best healthcare systems in the world. If someone is allowed to skip a process like this, what kind of precedent does this set up, for in other places, and particularly in our own country? And we think that it's very, very important for us to reckon with the facts that have also been produced with the Oxfam's Inequality Virus Report, which is being discussed, this week. And we feel very, very strongly over the fact that, we are in austerity at a time of a pandemic, which we also feel is self-defeating. That vaccines must be declared a public good. We insist on the price regulations, the control and price transparency of all vaccines. And compounded the fact that South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world, with at least 50% of our population living in poverty and mass unemployment. And this is worsening daily. And I think for what is critical for us is, as business entities, including pharmaceutical companies, have, in accordance with international standards, the obligation as a minimum to respect the rights outlined in various conventions and so on. And that industry and private benefit cannot be prioritized over the rights to life and health of billions who are so far, with such far-reaching consequences. So, in as far as how we view the symbolic show of elitist preferentialism, we view this in a very serious light, and we certainly need to stop this from becoming a precedent where extremely wealthy people, billionaires, the billionaire class has benefited exponentially over this time, and as individuals need to ensure that there is an equitable access to the vaccine, because all of us have made the same level of commitment in terms of addressing this global pandemic.
Well, Tauriq, shukran for that and for your time with us this morning. We're going to have to leave it at that. And obviously, we will follow developments. But for now, we thank you for your time with us on Salam Media, on News and Views. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. And thank you very much for having me on.
Africa of your dreams, and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty.